Welcome back, everyone, to another Company Fears 2 replay cast. And this time, we are going to have A2B2 from Kotu.org, as you may know, because the patch just hit, and so that's the only place where I can get a replay. And it's going to be, I believe, uploaded by, oh, got that name, One Little One I One Ill. Kim Jong Il. His friend is going to be Joris. They're going to be spawning in the northwestern side, playing as the Axis, OKW, and Wehrmacht. On the south side, we're going to have Tume and Talisman, so two very good players, as you may know, playing as the Soviets, both of them. And the map is Road to Kharkov. Interesting. I don't like this map, and I don't like this map at all. Just too much of a narrow corridor. There's a couple of open spaces like the center. Obviously, all of the VPs are fairly contestable. The munitions points are kind of protected by buildings on both ends of the map, and the fuel points are very hard to harass, which is perhaps one of the reasons I do not like the map. Of course, we do see already Joris going for some wire on the doors. Interesting choice. That's a weird placement of the wire. I'm thinking that somebody coming from the right side can still get into the building, but I guess that's fine. He's going to be maybe completing that later. Chubuwagen on the field for Joris. That's going to be very useful on Road to Kharkov, as the map indeed is pretty well apt because of its length to vehicles that can also capture. Storm Pioneers are going to be probably mopping up these poor conscripts very quickly because, well, again, too close range for the conscripts. They're going to have to retreat very, very quickly. And we do see some more Volksgrenadiers being brought in by Joris. So he's going to be going with the strategy of one Kubawagen and then Folk Spam, which is, I guess, pretty okay on a map like this. We'll see whether or not he goes for an MG later on, as his ally has done. Kim Jong-il, as I'll call him, he's gone for a MG42, which is a pretty decent choice on the map. Of course, I would also like to see a mortar, just in case it devolves into a stalemate, as it looks like it is going to be doing from Talisman, as Talisman is going for a lot of conscripts, actually. So definitely enjoy seeing Conscript Spam being used by good players. We'll see whether or not it pays off for Talisman. This isn't one of the maps where I think Conscript Spam is particularly good. I do tend to enjoy support weapons a little bit more on Road to Kharkov, but Conscript Spam is always more fun to play, so might just be that reason. On the south side, we do see that Tume is going for a sniper, so this is going to be fairly useful on the south side because of all the open terrain, even more so than the north. The north has a few shot blockers, such as the houses and the trees all around. The south has a couple of trees, but most of the area where the fighting is going to be in is completely wide open. So having a sniper is going to be very useful for Tume. He has sacrificed, of course, map control for this, but only one munitions point for a while is not the end of the world for the Soviet player if he can later on get an advantage thanks to the sniper. Sniper also going to be extremely useful against the Sturm Pioneers, obviously because of their four size squad instead of the 5-size Volksgrenadier. Also going to be very useful later on, just in case 111 goes for a sniper of his own. The Soviet sniper is going to be able to counter the German sniper quite nicely with its two-man squad. Has to be very afraid of the mine, actually. Doesn't know that the mine is there. The two guys are spread out enough that I think one of them might survive, but no, both of them go down. Excellent mine from Joris. Kind of lucky, but also kind of, genius, because Soviet player Tume wasn't really expecting a mine this early. So having the mine there definitely surprised and got exactly the kind of effect that was desired. In fact, probably even more. In fact, it looks like also a engineer with the flamethrower might go down to the long range indeed fire of the Sturm Pioneers. So starting off really well for the Germans in terms of the engagements and the manpower losses, especially the squad portion. Tume losing both a sniper and an engineer. Engineer, I believe, is 170. No, 170. Plus 340 for the sniper, right? No, 460. Wow. I'm underestimating these costs. So 130 for 530 manpower lost already for Tume. And now the fact that he lost that engineer with the flamethrower not only loses him 170 manpower and 60 munitions for the unit cost, he also doesn't have anything to put into his clown car, so that's going to delay the effectiveness of the clown car by a few minutes. By then, the Germans are going to be able to come in with some... ooh, there goes the Cubewagen as well. They're going to be able to come in with some counters. Now, the newly requiring the Battle Headquarters Panzerfaust, of course, wasn't really all that hard to come by. See, Relic, you didn't need to buff the Panzerfaust so much for the Focus Grenadiers. Joris was still able to bring up the Battle Headquarters because he was kind of quick enough and be able to counter the Clown Car, well, the clownless Clown Car, regardless of the change. That's still a change that pisses me off a lot. But whatever. Still, very good job from the Germans. They've so far been managing to get some very good wins off the engagements. Of course, the Allies do have a bit of an advantage in terms of map control, so that's what the Germans are going to have to deal with right now. The way to do that would be to secure one area of the map quite well, as they're attempting to do on the right side of the map, and then extend their influence over the center of the map from that one side that they control. And then obviously have some extra units, such as these Minesweeper Pioneers, have harassment moves to the other side of the map, just to avoid the enemy getting a little bit too complacent and not leaving any units around there. So if they don't leave any units around there, they can be punished by the lonesome squad that might be harassing the other area of the map, which is exactly what the Germans are doing, and it should be resulting in success, of course. Very good job from Talisman grabbing the building with the flamethrowers, and that's going to be a fairly good stronghold from which to push up against the machine gun. The MG42 is pretty much alone. There's a scout car coming up from 1 Ilulil, and it's going to be okay as a supportive role to the machine gun, especially with the mortar on the field. The mortar is going to be able to sort of destroy any suppressed allied attack. But still, I would really have liked to see Joris go for his own machine gun. He's going to go for a Flak Half-Truck instead. Flak Half-Truck still a fairly good suppression unit. Of course, much more expensive, but also much more effective, which might be exactly what Joris was looking for. Maybe because he wants something that's a little bit easier to manage than a machine gun, because you don't have to think about arc of fire with the half-track. Obviously, with the map being this kind of open, the MG's arc of fire isn't really that much of a hindrance. You can still cover pretty much most of one area with the machine gun because there's not a lot of shot blockers. But I guess Joris just wanted to go a little bit safe and also have the vehicle. It's going to be a little bit harder to counter. Of course, we do know that Talisman does have the tier 2. He does have a MG Maxim machine gun, which now has a slightly increased arc of fire. So he might be able to bring out an AT gun, but it might take a while. And again, important to know that he has 150 fuel at his disposal, just like Tume. So both of the Soviet players are kind of looking to conserve their manpower and then look into getting tier 3 or tier 4 up and running, and then getting out some vehicles with their extra fuel. In fact, we do see Talisman going for a tier 3 right now, which is going to be a fairly good choice. If he can get out an S276, that's going to be an excellent counter against the Flak and the 222. In fact, might be an excellent counter against anything else that the Germans might cook up from their respective tiers. With the slight resources advantage that the Soviets are getting in terms of income right now, they're going to be able to bring out vehicles also such as the T-70 and have them be very effective. Very unfortunate also for the MG is the presence of the Flak Half-Track. Right now, the conscripts do appear to have AT grenades, so that wasn't a bluff from the URA, but the URA isn't really going to be able to do much because it runs right into a machine gun. Very good job supporting each other between the MG42 and the SDKFC Half-Track, which is exactly why I thought that Joris should have gone for his own machine gun, because two supportive weapons that can, two suppression weapons that can support each other are just much better than one support weapon on its own, because that one suppressive unit can be flanked in various different ways, or it can be shut down by AT guns in the case of the Flak Half-Track. But with the MG supporting it, it's a little bit harder for both of the units to actually be countered. Pino's in the center. Now, Pino's being brought out so late is, in my opinion, a bit of a mistake from Tume. I think he should have gone for at most one Pino squad. This late into the game, the Pinos aren't going to be quite as useful with the PTRS, because the PTRS is soon going to be going out of fashion if medium armor comes on the field. It's also not going to be quite as good against enemy infantry because the veterans bonuses aren't going to be getting reached quite as quickly by the penals. But we'll see. Still quite useful for the satchel charges on something like this building. Still going to be quite useful against light vehicles such as the 222 and the flak half-track. Let's see if the satchel charge is going to be coming in against the Grenadiers. No, Penal Battalion is just relying on their SPTs to force these German squads back. A bit of a puff of smoke. Looks like a demo charge went up, and it was diffused. Diffused in a kind of a violent way by the Stern Pioneers. T-70 is on the field for Talisman. Let's see if we can use that correctly. There is a pack gun on the field. There's also a Raketenwerfer on the field with a lot of squads capable of firing Panzerfausts. In fact, 3 from Joris and 2 from IL-1. So T-70 in a very hostile environment may not be able to proliferate with its anti-infantry capabilities. We will see. I definitely don't think that the T-70 is going to be able to do much. In fact, first engagement that it does enter in, walks out licking its wounds with its tail between its legs, or I guess its exhaust pipes between its tracks. And that's not going to be quite as good because that's the surprise factor gone for T-70. T-70's surprise factor is quite important. With any shock unit that you're kind of hoping is going to be able to do quite a bit of damage in a narrow window of time, the first engagement is the one where you want to have the most impact in, because that's where the enemy is going to be less prepared to deal with your unit. But that's not what happened, and that's kind of a problem for Tumen and Talisman. Of course, Talisman still has the ability to bring out Su-76s from the Tank of the Battalion Command, which are going to be fairly useful against what the Germans are bringing out right now. Joris has a third supply half-track coming on the field, so he's going to be able to bring up the, I think, Schwerpanzer headquarters. Here comes a flare from the Soviet sniper. Let's see what's spawning. Just the center of the map. Yeah, about the center of the map, spotting the MG and not much else. Gonna be providing some intel support to the Soviet player, but not really too much of it. In the center, or center left, more like, huge infantry assault from Joris, supported by the flak half-track, is going to be able to destroy the Penal Battalion. Very unfortunate for that squad to be going down in such fashion. Might be because of the steel barricade. Says a nice blob, but really that's only 3 squads supported by a flak half-track, and then he used the game mechanics very nicely to trap your Penal. He either did that, or you decided to simply, instead of walking out the southern door of the building, walking out of the northern door, which kind of tells that you didn't micro that whole engagement correctly. Coordinated doctrine pickup from Tumen and Talisman. We do see that they're going to go for the Soviet Industry plus Guard Motor Coordination. Interesting choice to go a coordinated pick for these 2 doctrines, because I don't really see them as supporting each other all that much. And really, Guard Motor Coordination is something that I would have picked much earlier near the start of the game to make use of the Guards Rifle Infantry a little bit earlier. Or perhaps even of the 120mm mortar, would have been extremely useful against the MG42 from IL-1, and the pack gun, and the Raketenwerfer. So not entirely 100% on that choice, although the Soviet Industry, I'm kind of a sucker for that, so I'm going to be going behind that choice from Talisman. The one point of convergence that I see, very nice usage of the armor-piercing incendiary rounds against the T-70. T-70 might be able to escape. Got down a kill on a Raketenwerfer. If the allies don't follow it up, though, with an infantry push to capture the Raketenwerfer and perhaps even destroy the MG42, this is going to go to waste, and probably the T-70 is going to go down in smoke and flames. Very, very lucky to escape from that last burst. Now it doesn't have the armor-piercing incendiary rounds anymore, and it's going to be supported by a T-3485 from Tumen. Already going for the Tier 4 with the T-3485 from the Guard Motor Coordination Tactics. Going to be able to lay down the smack on most German units in the left side of the map. Of course, we have to think about the fact that 111 is kind of going for a Tier 3 focus strategy would seem, as he might have been waiting for an Osman, but now he will definitely go for a Stug instead of a Panzer IV. Stug is very, very good after the last patch, so doesn't surprise, well, after the last 2 patches, so it doesn't really surprise me that he's going to go for a Stug as a sort of a cheap stopgap measure. If that Stug can get some veterancy, it's going to be very, very good indeed against Soviet medium tanks, and it's going to be also very useful against the KV-2 later on. So a quite decent choice from 101 Iloilo. And Joris is going for the short Panzer quarters. He's going to have enough fuel to get something out of that soon. Might go for a Panther because his ally went for a tank destroyer, or he might go for a Panzer IV because of that same reason. Both of them possible. Both of them would be good enough in their own right, depending on what the Germans have in mind. In fact, Joris also going for the fortifications doctrine kind of suggests that he's going to go later on for an LEFH artillery piece or a Pak 43. And again, if he's going to go for a Panther, it's very unlikely that he's going to go for a Pak 43 as well. So I'm guessing that if we see an LEFH, both options are open. But if we see a Pak 43, then most likely not a Panther. And in fact, we do see that there's also a bit of a push in the center from the 245, almost destroying the 251 half track, but that's still not enough now. Trying to slow down. Bit of a harassment move in the left side from Cume. Both sides are kind of fighting over the center and the south, but the north is really going a little bit uncontested since the construction of the Shure Panther quarters. So I would like to see a little bit more of an effort from the allies to go against that structure, especially Talisman. I think he's making a mistake in saving up all this much fuel, which is in English, but oh well. I think that he should have gone at least for one Su-76. It would have helped out his chances against, especially the Flak Hafrik and the 222 by a lot. But it would have also maybe helped out his ally against the Stug free LSG. Mostly just because I really don't think that going for the KV-2 and then saving up for it at 7 CPs is really worth it. Again, if you have a late game unit that you can call in at, for example, 11 CPs, like, well, the Command Panther, or 14 CPs like the KV-2, then you don't need to be saving up for it from 6, 7, 8 CPs already. You can already go ahead and buy other stuff. It does look like Talisman is going to go finally for a tier 4, but that was a little bit late. In fact, his ally had to go for a Katyusha to support the center sort of fight, instead of waiting and getting a T-34-85, instead of having... what? I guess I pressed something. Instead of having to wait for 130 fuel for a new T-34-85, he decided to go for 85 fuel investment on the Katyusha, which, while it might pay off, I think it would have been a little bit more, I guess, appropriate for a Talisman to go for that investment, and then have a Tuma just specialize in medium tanks, so that he can micro them a little bit better. He doesn't have to micro both the Katyusha and the T-34. But that's fine. That's a choice that the ally players can make. The barrage in the center looks like it took out a Raketenwerfer. No, it didn't take out anything, in fact. And the Stug free, completely forcing the T-34-85 to retreat. The T-34-85 does have access to the vehicle repair, which is going to be a fairly quick way to get the tanks back on track. Talisman right now has 198, 199, 200 munitions, which is going to be useful for the allied supply drop as well as the vehicle repair. No damage charge is being used by the Soviet players so far on either end of the map from either player, which is, in my opinion, a big mistake, because allied supply drop, fine, pretty good. Marked vehicle, fine, pretty good. Vehicle self-repair, useful. But demo charges help you out in a way that all those other things really don't, which is wiping squads and wiping veterancy off the German squads. So I don't really like that the Soviet players let the German players go without... Well, there was that one demo charge over here, but they kind of let the German players go without minesweepers, or rather without having to support their infantry with minesweepers this entire game. LEFH artillery gun goes up for Joris, starts to counter battery a 120mm. No, that's a 80mm, 81mm mortar. 81? 82, right. 82mm mortar instead of 120mm. That's an interesting little choice. Not entirely sure on it. Let me see. Just thinking about things for a second. No, nothing. Now I was just thinking about the possibilities of the tier 4 from Illil and Joris, whether or not they're gonna go for something different. Now Illil still is going with the tier 3, and he has a second Stug coming up. First Stug going down from the anti-tank gun, which is now running away, probably pretty smartly because he doesn't want it to be stolen. Like this Raketenwerfer is about to be, most likely. MG42 blockhouse in the center that was built up by the Pioneers with the sandbags being destroyed by the Katyusha, but at the same time, there's a bit of a hole in the Allied defenses, and the Germans are pouring through Volksgrenadiers, which basically means that this whole ordeal with decrewing the machine gun isn't really all that useful because just more German units can come up and recapture it. Conscripts trying to capture the Raketenwerfer, but getting suppressed by the MG44 with those incendiary armor-piercing rounds. And this is kind of a big problem right now for the Allies. They have been able to decrew the German weapons quite a lot, but they haven't really been able to ever capture them, which means that the Germans have been able to regain control of them and use them against the Allies pretty much entirely. There goes the flak half track finally. Very good job from the Allies with flank from both the conscripts and the T-34-85. Flak half track, though, mostly brought that doom onto itself. Rather than it being a result of a good play from the Allies, it was kind of a reckless play from the Germans. In my opinion, I think that the Germans should have been using that flak half track a little bit more conservatively. And right now, what they are using kind of conservatively are the Stugs, although not conservatively enough clearly, as they do charge another Stug into the jaws of the tank gun, just like before, which resulted in the death of the Stug earlier. Right now, the second Stug is going to be surviving quite a bit. Illil has gone for the Jaeger armored option, which allows the Stug to equip the spotting scope, and also allows the Vet-222 to allow to equip the map hacks. The map hacks wagon isn't quite as map hacky as it used to be, but as you can see, it's still pretty ridiculous, as it pretty much is able to spot enemy units 1.5 screens away from it, which isn't quite as much as the 2 and the Hoarder screens that it was able to do earlier, but it's still pretty much the map hacks wagon 222 that we all know and love, which is fine. It's a pretty good unit, especially for that purpose. And keeping it alive up to Vet 2 at this point is not going to be quite as easy for the Germans. Germans which have been able to secure a triple cap on the Allies. Allies absolutely need to do something about the triple cap, and so if they can do something about especially the south side of the map, that would be really good. Having a unit from Talisman that wasn't the T-70 would also be really nice for that purpose now. T-70 up to Vet 2 does have the spotting combat mode and spotting mode, which is going to be a little... Wait, what? That's Vet 3 then. Yeah, that's Vet 3 that increases line of sight. Well, all the other Veteran C increases that increase line of sight are usually at Vet 2, so I was kind of confused for a second. So essentially, T-70 right now being used in much the same way as the T-2 is being used, although not quite as effective. Mostly just to spot enemy units and allow the other units to win. Here comes the strong tank, the KB2. I do enjoy this unit, and whether or not the Allies use this effectively might mean their victory or defeat. Of course, with the support of a Katyusha, this KB2's importance isn't quite as pronounced as if the Katyusha or the KB2 were alone, because there's 2 Katyushi on the field, and if the KB2 was the only sort of anti-blob unit that the Soviets were to call upon, then that would be... Get that Raketenwerfer! Get it now! Holy shit, get the Raketenwerfer! Like, it's much more important that you get the Raketenwerfer rather than you get the machine gun to walk back a few paces. And right now, the Raketenwerfer is not going to be recaptured, or rather captured by Talisman's conscripts, which is a very, very huge mistake, because it's going to allow the Germans to recapture the Raketenwerfer. And once the big late-game German units arrive, the Allies would wish for that Raketenwerfer, and that's kind of a problem. Right now, the Allies have control of 2 VPs, but if the Germans can rally up enough forces to overrun one of the VPs, then they're going to be in quite the good shape again, because they would be, I believe, 4 minutes away. 1 every 3. So like 20 every minute. Yeah, about 4 minutes away from victory if they get a double cap going. Of course, the Allies need a little bit more than that. If they can get a triple cap, then they're going to be 111. No, they're going to be 330. So 6 minutes away from a victory. Oh, there goes an entire Panzer Grenadier squad from the T-3485. T-3485 is still alone. The Allies absolutely lack anti-tank right now. The Germans lack vehicles, so I guess it's not that bad for the Allies at the moment. They have a little bit longer to bolster their anti-tank defenses. And the Germans really need to get something out, and that something should not be an elephant. I think that one Lil might be going for an anti-tank, heavy tank destroyer elephant, which might be a terrible decision. I would much rather have him go for example, a Broom Bear. Because the Broom Bear would be very effective against not only the conscripts, but also the AT gun. And it would help out in general against enemy infantry. There's quite a lot of AT on the field already for the Germans. Even AT that can be quite effective against the KV-2, aka something that's not a PaK-40 or a Raketenwerfer. There is a LEFH artillery gun on the field, and the LEFH can be very effective against the KV-2, as we're already seeing right now. LEFH firing into that area, doing some nibble damage on the KV-2's position, but not really too much at the moment, partially because of the inaccuracy of firing at such a long range. And in general, the Germans just need a little bit more anti-infantry. They do have a few units, such as these Veteran 3 Grenadiers, and I guess the soft anti-infantry of the Volksgrenadiers, and of course a couple of machine guns, which are very welcome to have. But the machine guns are very vulnerable to not only the Katyusha, but also the KV-2. So the Germans need some kind of way to counter Allied infantry attacks that don't rely upon things that can be easily countered by the KV-2's fire support. And that something would be something like a Broom Bear, or for the German OKW player, a King Tiger might be an option. In fact, he has gone for the mechanized regiment headquarters and upgraded automatrons on the headquarters. So he might be able to later on go for a King Tiger. He's going to be saving up a lot of fuel. I think he's going for the KT. He also hasn't really been replenishing his infantry forces. He's down to 2 Volksgrenadier squads and 1 Sturmpio. Of course, with the support of an MG34 and a Raketenwerfer, not too much for him on the field. Only 46 pop cap, which points to him saving up for something else. Thiume is at full pop cap with the addition of his second T-3485 to his arsenal, which is a pretty good thing because he can use the Katyusha to take out enemy support weapons, and then he can use the T-3485s to hopefully follow up. But it doesn't really look like he's going to be quite confident enough to send in his T-3485s, which might be a good idea because there's an Elephant Tank Destroyer. Now, the Elephant Tank Destroyer, however, needs to be absolutely protected from both enemy infantry and flanking enemy medium tanks. Especially the second part, as right now he's kind of charging in a little bit too close. Here comes the anti-tank grenade from one of the conscripts, which might have been a little bit of a premature move as that kind of scares back the Elephant a little bit. Here comes a Stuka close air support, which destroys an engineer squad. Very unfortunate, but also kind of a blessing in disguise because that kind of allows Thiume to build up more troops. He can go for a third T-3485 to counter the Elephant. A very well executed T-3485 flank is going to be able to take out that Elephant quite easily. Whether or not the Allies can indeed organize that kind of assault, we will see. The Elephant is going to be a good counter to the KV-2. But again, not really going to be all that useful against the Allied infantry, so it really remains to be seen whether or not the Elephant can be used effectively. And especially whether or not the Germans can obviously hold against the Allied infantry swarms. Now, One Lil has lost a couple of squads lately, which doesn't really bode well for his chances. But we'll see. The T-3485 is pushing up north, getting completely demolished by the Elephant, and really not being used correctly. Not quite sure what happened there. Looks like a Katyusha went down from, looks like a counter-battery fire from the LEFH. Very good job from that artillery unit. And one of the T-3485s goes down to the Elephant Tank Destroyer's fire, which is exactly what you don't want to happen without such a mobile unit such as the T-3485. You don't want to be sitting still under the fire of an elephant. It is actually kind of a criminally incompetent thing to do. That's kind of a problem. Here comes the Su-85, trying to counter the elephant, but at close-ish range, even, it's not going to be able to do much in a one-on-one fight against the much heavier elephant. Of course, there is a KV-2 around. Elephant takes an anti-tank grenade, might even take a satchel charge, actually. Might even take a satchel charge against the engine, but there's really nothing that the Soviets can do to follow up. If we go to the tactical map right now, you can see that the Germans pretty much are fairly secure in their position, and the Soviets are only bringing up their vehicles such as the T-34 and these SUs to help bring down the elephant. Of course, the SU had to come back to the repair stations to repair, but really, of course, the fact that now that there's a King Tiger on the field just means even more protection for the elephant. So really not a lot that the Soviet player can do to finish off this this elephant, which was exactly what they needed to do, because right now it's just going to be much more of a thorn in the side of the Allies when there's a King Tiger up that can sort of absorb shots for it. Right now, Stug gonna be chasing down the Su-85, might be able to destroy it. Very good job from the Stug. Might go down to the KV-2, but the KV-2 is also going to take fire from the Königstiger. Königstiger going to be forcing it to go out of its hold-down position, which is going to reduce its rate of fire by quite a lot, and also reduce its range and accuracy, I believe, too, but not enough so that it isn't able to hit that Stug at that fairly close range. Of course, the Allies are basically out of vehicles, and they still have some resources with which to build some more vehicles. And they're going to be able to have to use these vehicles in a coordinated way. Earlier on, there were Talisman's vehicles in the south, and there were Tume's vehicles in the north, without really any coordination being going on between them, which is in English. And that's kind of bad, because it allowed the elephant to first focus on one group with the destruction of that one T-34-85, with the LEFH providing fire support against the Katyusha and destroying one, and then being able to just charge down with the King Tiger while the elephant was repairing, and destroy the other side of the Allied force. Singularly, the two German contingents are stronger than the two Allied contingents, but united, that may have been a bit of a different story, especially if the T-34-85s were able to get a good flank, working off of a good distraction from Talisman's Su-85 and KV-2. KV-2 still got a respectable 28 kills so far, but really, at this point, can't really do much, because there's the elephant supported by the King Tiger. That's the key. If the King Tiger wasn't there to support the elephant would be very vulnerable, especially to infantry assaults, but also to medium vehicle flanks. Medium vehicle flanks can still happen with the King Tiger, but really, infantry assaults are now out of the question because of the King Tiger, and because of this Ostwind as well on the field from Illil. So really not a lot that the Allies are going to be able to do against the elephant. And now the elephant is going to be having free reign in order to counter the KV-2, which means that the German infantry, and especially support weapons, have pretty much free reign as well. So not exactly the best situation for the Allies. Maxim making use of its slightly higher arc of fire to do some slight suppression against Stern Pioneers. Yeah, that's really, really poor. Any other machine gun would have pinned them, I think. That's very sad for the Maxim. Its glory days are pretty much over at this point, it would seem. But yes, Maxim is going to be forced to retreat, and then the Focus Trainers are going to be forced to retreat by the T-34-85s, but then probably the Elephant and King Tiger are going to come in and do some support there, and so the T-34-85s are going to have to retreat. Right now, double cap is on the way for the Germans. Triple cap is possible if the Germans were a little bit more aggressive, but it looks like they're going to be playing conservatively and trying to get themselves situated in the center and north area of the map. And just hold them for just a few more minutes for the victory. I really don't see what the Allies could be doing. A KV-8 is definitely not it, because there's the Elephant and there's the King Tiger, and there's enough AT on the German side in the form of the Pack and the Rakenwerfer to support these two vehicles. So probably not really going to be getting a lot of success out of that KV Flamethrower. The KV Flamethrower is more of a medium, mid-game vehicle. Not really that good in the late game. Quite useful against enemy infantry, but when there's elephants and stuff on the field, yeah, not really enough. Definitely able to do some good work, wreaking some havoc in the back line, but eventually getting Panzerfausted in the range of an AT gun. So there it goes. There goes the T-3485. There goes a Guards Rifleman squad. A bit of a frontal assault, trying to work off of the confusion that was brought in by the KV-8's attack, which was a pretty good move, but too little too late. They should have been doing something like that a little bit earlier. Here comes also a marked vehicle on the King Tiger, doing quite a bit of damage thanks to the support of both the KV-2, the T-3485s, and looks like an anti-tank gun, but really not being able to destroy the King Tiger, again, because this is a little bit too late. There's not enough forces that the Allies have to bring to bear on the Germans that can actually finalize a theoretically pretty good push. It was well thought out, but there really weren't enough resources to pull it off. Earlier on, there would have been enough resources to pull it off, but the Allies played a little bit more. Yeah, I kind of agree that guarding this map, but really, the Allies kind of allowed themselves to be separated and fought separately in a very decisive moment when the Germans were still kind of getting out their big vehicles. They could have been defeated piecemeal because there still wasn't quite enough for them to work together. The King Tiger was still coming on the field when the Elephant was destroying the T-3485. Then the T-3485 slash infantry attack crippled the Elephant tank destroyer. But then the King Tiger came in, and at that point, it was over already because the King Tiger could just push around Talisman's forces, which weren't really able to support in the push earlier. And that kind of, I guess, you could say spread of intentions between the two Allied players. One going in a little bit too early for the other one definitely wasn't the best thing possible. What else? Well, Talisman could have made a little bit better use of his doctrine. Tuma could have picked his doctrine earlier. Infantry play, pretty much par for the course for both sides. Doing pretty well. And then, I guess, really don't see anything else. Really good usage of the LFH Howitzer, eventually getting up to 25 kills. Very good from Joris. Indeed, most valuable kill, the vehicle kill, the Katyusha. Other than that, I want to thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed this cast. Hope you learned something. Tell me in the comments below what you think about the patch, what you think about the game, and I'll see you soon. Why is there a Chinese character on the Ostwind? Oh, it's supposed to be an arrow, right? And I'll see you soon. See you.